guys, and welcome to another episode of Piano and Keyboard Artists, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards and synthesizers. And our special guest, once again, Mr. Brian Griffin.
Good to be here, Brian.
Brian, you're becoming like a regular.
No, I feel so comfortable here. Absolutely. I enjoy it. It's great. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Well, Brian, actually one of my subscribers was saying to me the other day that it's quite sad that we're almost coming to the end of the artwork review series,
Yeah, I suppose we are, really.
And he said, oh, that means we're not going to see Brian again. And then I actually said, well, that's not true, because if they knew what other things Brian's did, including Ultravox, which a lot of you have asked me to talk about, and you've talked about, we don't want to go off topic, but you have, I think, was it John Fox?
John Fox.
You've got some images that no one's ever seen before.
Yes, I have. John, yeah. He was at art college with me, John.
Oh, he was at art college with
me? Yeah, he studied graphics, I studied photography.
You names dropper? Just happened to know them.
Just happened to know him. In fact, I didn't really know him then. I only got to meet him after he left Ultravox.
Oh.
Which, when we come on to that, I met the great Connie Plank, who's my great hero, the great producer.
Yeah, of course.
He produced Vienna for Ultravox, and of course I did the cover.
Oh, wow.
But John had left by then.
Oh, and you did the cover for Vienna as well?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, guys, so that just that settles that. We're definitely going to have to do an Ultravox special at some point, starting with a John Fox special. But anyway, let's not go off topic, and that is just to reassure you guys that have said, oh no, Brian's not going to be on the channel anymore. There's a lot more. You're going to be seeing this face a lot more. And of course, as I said, a lot of you don't know, but Brian actually did the video for with Depeche Mode's Only When I Lose Myself.
Correct.
Which is one of my favourite music videos of theirs. And I only learned that recently myself, that Brian had done that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, if you're brand new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you with open arms and let you know that this is part of an ongoing album review series in which I am reviewing all Depeche Mode's albums all the way chronologically from Speak and Spell all the way to their current album Spirit. And in tandem with that album review series, I've got my friend here, Mr. Brian Griffin, who is talking about the time he spent with Depeche Mode and, doing the artwork. Because as you know, Brian did all the album covers from Speak and Spell all the way till Black Celebration. Now, as where we are chronologically, we've done the interview for Speak and Spell. We spoke about A Broken Frame. We spoke about Construction Time again. And now, today, we're speaking about some great reward. Some great reward will be coming my way. And this is a reissue, a gatefold reissue. And I think we were talking last time, Brian, the actual finish on these reissues is better than the original.
So much better. And I've noticed they've got the alternative on the back. I never realised that.
Oh, is that the alternative?
Actually, they've got an alternative that I don't have anymore. But there it is on the back. Because you always had to surrender your work to the record company, and everything was shot on positive, transparent material.
Oh, and
so you lost a lot of stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, it's not like today when you would have the original.
So that's obviously in Mute's archive, that one there. Oh, that's really rare. I don't have that.
It's very rare, this one, guys. I think you can just see it there. There we go.
So don't ask me for a print of that, because I don't have it. Although I do have the front, of course.
Right, so on the subject of prints and artwork, now Brian's been around for a while. And so obviously Brian does sell copies of his prints and artwork and via galleries and directly online and everything. But obviously these prints are not affordable to the average person, and this offer that Brian has made exclusively to the Vaughan George channel was born from the need to make these artwork images accessible to the average Depeche Mode fan. And I'm just going to show you this one, which is the Some Great Reward poster print. But we'll run through those in detail at the end of the show.
And this is the one we're selling.
Yeah. So this is one of a collection of 5 which we're selling, and we'll run through those at the end of the show. So guys, grab yourself a cup of tea and coffee, and let's jump right into Some Great Reward. Right, Brian, so it's 1984. Now, it's not. That was quite a while ago, so how vivid are your memories of this time?
Oh, very vivid. I've got a photographic memory.
Of course, pardon the pun.
I've got a photographic memory, so yeah, you can ask me anything about it.
Okay, so let's just go as far as history goes. We talked about Speak and Spell, And as legend has it, Speak and Spell, a lot of people, when you first delivered the artwork to them, they thought, what the hell is that? And of course, in hindsight, we look back at it now, it's an iconic album cover. And as we talked, it's there's a lot of, with plasticity in the ocean and all that at the moment, that has become quite relevant to today. After that, they got you back, you photographed a broken frame, which was arguably one of your best images ever.
Yeah.
And then we went up to the Alps to do Construction Time Again.
Yeah.
So obviously the Construction Time Again album cover must have been the most sort of adventurous. I mean, that's going to the Alps, taking a cable car, going up. Where was this shot? And what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you look at this?
Well, what comes to my mind is the fact that it's where I was born, really. Not actually in the factory, but just down the road from it. When I say down the road, this massive steelworks here is called Round Oak Steelworks. It sits in a small town called Briery Hill, which is in the borough of Dudley. It's in an area of England called the Black Country. The Black Country is an area that's about 8 to 10 miles to the west of Birmingham, our second major city. England's second major city. The UK's second major city. And I grew up in that area, which is like a really big industrialised area, especially when I was born and during my childhood. I mean, if I put my hand out here like this towards Vaughan, during the months of the fogs in that area, I'd probably just be able to see my hand. Oh. And as you all know now, probably after the interviews we've been doing here, I'm really fond of electronic music. I really love electronic music. And that's basically because the whole area here, this was the big steelworks, but there were all sorts of other industries there. And they all played a tune. There would be the steelworks and the big rolling mills and the foundries and the forges and the small bath and bucket works and everything. So there was like an orchestra that played around my home, around my school, and around the area I lived in all my childhood. So that's why I'm fond of electronic music. But I'm fond also of this factory because from my bedroom window I would look out across the industrial landscape. Probably people who live in Germany, it'd be like the Ruhr Valley. And there sat this big ocean liner on the top, which is this factory called Round Oak Steelworks. And it would at the weekends they would let the furnaces off and all the sky would go red. So it left a big impression upon me. I went to art college and studied photography. I studied engineering before that. As I told you before, I was thrown out of school at 16 and I went in the factories.
Thrown out? Why?
Thrown out because Mum and Dad needed some money because we were very, very poor and they needed my income.
So it's not because you were naughty, you were
thrown out. It was
just because you needed
I was a really good student, but they needed money, so I had to leave. But eventually I studied engineering and eventually I went to art college, left art college. And of course, like any student, you need a job to earn some money. And so I worked in this steelworks. I worked in there, a really difficult, hard, dirty, full of fumes, full of gases, full of horrible everything.
And little did you know that at that time, you didn't know this would become part of your legacy.
So, exactly. I mean, what happened was that I worked there, as I said, and then it became a shopping centre. The whole of this massive steelworks got shut down and became a really big shopping centre called the Merry Hill Shopping Centre. But they still retained this small part of the factory.
So that's still standing, it wasn't knocked down?
No, it's still standing.
Oh, okay.
But before the shopping centre, I think, was really built, and before they knocked down all of it, we knew it was all going to come down. And so when Daniel Miller and Depeche Mode said, well, we'd like to do, we all discussed it together. I don't know who came up with the idea. I don't care who came up with the idea. They told me they want a wedding couple and a factory background. Oh. So I thought, well, this is a chance for me to create an historical monument almost to my childhood, to this factory that preoccupied my view from my bedroom until the age of 20-something, and put it down into an image, that would last forever and make it famous. And so therefore I said, well, can we go up to the Black Country? And of course we'd gone to up the mountains.
So this was quite...
So this is quite cheap. Although we had to stay in a hotel overnight, because obviously it's a night shot.
Yeah.
And we had a journey up to Birmingham, which is like from London, 2.5 hours drive, 1.5 hours on the train. And there was 2 models, a lady and a man, which you can see in the photograph.
And that's not Alan Wilder, just to...
No.
A lot of people ask, it's not Alan Wilder, yeah.
And it was styled by Jackie Fry, who'd styled The Broken Frame, who'd styled Construction Time Again. And now she styled, quite simply, this photograph. So the team was still together. And we went up there, and I think they're standing on a roof, actually, if I remember right.
Oh, right.
A long time ago. Flat roof, could be. And the whole of the factory, or this part of the factory, we lit by tungsten lights, big HMIs, really. Big constant burning lamps. We had a big generator that came up from London, and we plugged all these lamps in and lit the whole of this side of the factory to create this image. And if you visit this Steelworks now and you knock on the door of the offices and go in, they've actually got a copy of this album cover on the wall.
On the wall.
In the offices. They're rather proud of it as well,
As I say, as almost like a grand design of synchronicity, almost. It's interesting how, you got the album, you did the first album covers, and now they say, we want a wedding couple in front of a factory. Now, the reason I think they chose a factory was because it probably goes in line with that kind of industrial sound that they were cultivating at the time. Construction Time Again, they're sort of industrial. So to have a wedding couple in front of a factory, it's quite symbolical of the human element in front of the industrial, because that was always, I think, Depeche Mode's music to me is very industrial and hard, but it still has a softness and an essence and a humanity to it. I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly. So that's why this album cover is so sort of perfectly symbolic of Depeche Mode's music. The industrial hardness and the fragileness of love and humanity. But anyway, so they've chosen this, and they said we want a factory. Was this the first idea that came to your mind, that the Steelworks was the first thing that came to your mind, or did you have to think about it for a while?
No, it came straight
to your mind.
I thought I'd put a bit of my history on the next cover. It started to get, we're working towards the one after this, aren't we? Which is the
Black Celebration. Yeah, so, there's a lot of anticipation for that one. Yes.
Yes, and they're starting. Other people are starting to have a little bit of say in what happens generally with the album covers, but I can't remember exactly what. So it started to get a little bit, because everyone was getting more and more famous,
And of course, that's when people all want a little bit of the
pie. A little bit more and more. Obviously, Depeche Mode were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So everyone was starting to get a bit more nervous,
That's true. The stakes are higher.
Yeah. The stakes were higher, as you quite rightly said, Vaughan. And so it's hard for me to remember the impact of that, which then really made its presence felt on the next album after this one.
And of course, we're not going to jump the gun, but I know I think there were a bit of disagreement between you and Martin Atkins on the Black Celebration, which we'll talk about in the next album. Now, I just want to ask you a question which some of my subscribers have asked me, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask you, Brian. None of the band members were ever present at any of these photo shoots, were they? So it was literally just you and your assistant, the stylist, the models.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. That's what it was. The same as always. The same assistant, same stylist, and me.
A winning team, really. And I think it's interesting because, as we say, if we go back to Speak and Spell, when they looked at it, they went, what the hell's this? A Broken Frame just has put you in history books as far as that album cover. And of course, then it was much easier for them to go, oh, well, we're not going to use anyone else but Brian. Then you did Construction Time Again. Then you said, I want to go to the Alps. And they probably thought, okay, that's a lot of money to spend, but we're going to give that to him because he produced a Broken Frame. They must have been quite relieved after this, because they probably thought you might want to, seeing that you've been to the Alps, you might want to up the ante and go to the moon. But now you decide to go to a Steelworks. So the budget was a relief. So the budget was... So what you're saying is, Brian, and the question I'm asking is, although this was probably a less technically complex shoot than Construction Time Again, there was probably more stress, as the band were getting bigger, more famous, as you said, more people getting involved. Was there more pressure on this one, on this shoot, or were you more relaxed? Or
I think I must have been quite relaxed because I put an element of my history in a very strong way on the front of this cover, where probably now on reflection I could have taken a similar symbolically a similar photograph with even more power nearer London. So I probably started to be a little bit selfish at this point and wanted to put a bit of my history in one of the covers, apart from giving the worker, which I had done on A Broken Frame and Construction Arm, again, prominence in my feeling towards workers. Here I probably put a bit of feeling about myself, really. So this is quite an important image in a sense. In other words, it's got a piece of Brian Griffin's physical and everyday life.
So it's very personal to you, this one?
Yeah, in it. It's the one. It's the only one, really, of all the album covers.
Brian, did you say last time that your favourite album cover, sort of visually, is The Construction Time Again?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
It was. And I think I'm just, my memory is going back to a previous documentary I saw of you on the Depeche Mode Remasters series. I know that, and we'll talk about that in the next series, Black Celebration. You weren't too keen on the Black Celebration image. It wasn't... You didn't feel it was...
No. But it's been written about, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a lot, actually. Because that was when, they started to get a bit of friction.
It got quite political.
And that's why I was like, I didn't do any covers after that.
I see. So, Brian, a question I also want to ask is, this was obviously done at night. Was it in the winter? In the summer? Can you remember?
That's a good question.
Because if it was winter, it would have been earlier. Dark would have come earlier. You would have had more time.
A good question. I would say that was shot during late evening.
Late evening.
I wouldn't have said it was like after midnight or anything like that. I would say it was in darkness hours of a normal day, really. Probably during a part of the year when it gets dark earlier rather than late.
I see.
So it could be anything from, say, October, onwards until the beginning of spring. I can't remember exactly.
It's interesting now, but I mean, this is obviously perfectly illuminated, and I'm no expert on photography and stuff, but I have learned a lot from you, and I find it fascinating how this. The bride here, that part of her dress is like the whitest part of the. So you've got all these different hues, these different shades of colour.
Well, you've got to try and pick her out.
You've got to try and pick her out. But so what I'm asking is this is well illuminated. How much of this light was this all provided from your lamps?
Yeah.
So if this
not minus the lighting company, because remember it's like a really big, powerful lighting system.
So what I'm saying is, what you're seeing here is actually, if those lights weren't there, this would just be pitch dark. So it was the lights that was applying.
Of course, yeah.
So obviously, with each shoot, you take different types of shots, and this became what rightfully they used as the cover. How long did it take to get that shot? Was it a quick shoot? Was it a long shoot?
Well, all my work tends to take some time. Obviously, we had to do it feverishly for A Broken Frame, which we covered 2 episodes ago. When the sky opened, I had to quickly go for it. And that was a short block of time when those images were created. But when it's something like this,
you got time.
It'd be hours.
You got
time. Probably 2 or 3 hours. But physically putting all the lights in position, that would take some time. And of course, like you said earlier, when you remarked on the back, it's a strong backlight. Would be coming up from the back.
Yeah.
And also lighting underneath here, look, underneath this water tower. There's some light down there coming up and lighting underneath of that water tower to bring it out a little bit. Give it a bit of dimension, give it some dimension.
So there's a lot of experimentation when you get there, obviously, because you've got an era lot. Yeah, well, this was 30 years ago? Yeah. So,
more.
So
did you say it was 84?
84. Yeah. How long ago was that?
35 years ago.
And I think because this album came out on the 28th of September, so it's about 35 years now. So when you arrive at a scene like this, and obviously there's a lot of trial and error and experimentation, you do, however, know what you want to do. Now, obviously, this was 35 years ago. When you get to a scene now, would you be able to get the result a lot quicker now with experience now?
Of course. Yeah. Of course I would, and probably be able to even do it better, but that's not the point, really. my history. It's interesting when I reflect back into the history of my work. It has that touch of naivety.
Yes, okay.
And that's magic. Naivety is like creates something so special that you can't repeat it really, and it can produce unique images.
Because
when you are rather naive, when you know too much,
complacency can kick in.
It can kick in. Your experience kicks in really strong.
Sure.
And obviously, would shorten the time period and be able to come up with a solution really much quicker. Aesthetically, maybe a little bit better. Lighting-wise, be a bit better. Of course, because that's what experience brings. But not necessarily produce a better image.
That was my next question, Brian. Is like, it's always, they say art is never finished, it's only abandoned. We all know this as artists, producers. You never, it's not my I can't remember who said it, but it's true. And I speak on this channel, as producers and stuff, or painters and artists, you need to get to a point where you've just got to, it's never really finished, it's abandoned. But do you ever look back at these and sort of go, oh, I wished I should have done that differently? Or,
of course.
Oh, you do, yeah.
No, of course.
But that's true, because that's in your mind. But to everyone else, it's perfect. I saw there was a program on TV a few years ago called the Planet Rock Diaries, and what they do is they'd interview bands like Pink Floyd and these massive legendary bands like The Who, and then they take them back to a recording studio and they'd listen to the original takes, and you'd see the art, them going, oh my god, I can't believe. So the point I'm trying to make is, to the artist, it's like they're really critical of what they've done, but to the consumer and to the other people, it's brilliant. And what I'm pointing out is, you did this, so you're very close to it. So you can probably pick out flaws, whereas most people just see it as perfection.
Of course.
But anyway, so anything else that comes to your mind about this image, Brian?
Let me think. I think that it's quite an historical image in a modern setting. I think it's created an historical moment in time in worldwide.
Of course.
About a factory that died, that was demolished, that was part of an area that this factory could have been forgotten forever, but it will never be forgotten.
Well, that's true, because
if you look on the internet, people go up there,
exactly,
and there's everything, aerial shots of it.
And
people going around photographing it.
Whereas, like most old buildings, they just derelict old buildings. Whereas this will remain iconic thanks to you
forever,
and Depeche Mode.
Ever be a part of the Black Country that will never be forgotten.
Yeah.
So I feel rather proud about that.
And as I say, and this was, as you say, the first time you incorporated a bit of you into.
And partly probably sacrificial. I felt I wanted to incorporate this building for this building's sake, rather than for my own betterment.
Yes.
So it was a sacrificial album cover for me.
Well, Brian, as I say, as my subscribers have always said, the album covers from Speak and Spell the way to Black Celebration were the best. And we're going to talk later on. I want to talk about some of Anton's artwork as well in a later album, in a later series. But let's get on to some of the poster prints we're doing, Brian.
Okay.
So, guys, if you're new to my channel, I would like to just introduce you to this exclusive offer which Brian has brought to the Vaughan George channel. And I'm just going to move the coffee cups here. And there's still some Jaffa cakes there, Brian, if you want to.
Thank you.
Now you can put the Jaffa cakes back there, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so as I say, Brian has made these 5 images exclusive to the Vaughan George channel, and I'm going to start off with the first image, which is the Speak and Spell black and white. Now this is the black and white, the album cover, but it's in black and white. And I must mention, Brian will say, this is not sort of like taking the color image and then turning it into black and white. This is actually straight off the black and white film. Yeah,
because all the album covers are shot on film. Remember, it's before the digital world even existed. Everything's analog. Everything's on film. That was shot for Depeche Mode.
And this album, this image, I believe, has never been seen before.
No.
So I'm so grateful that Brian has made this exclusive to the Vaughan George channel. Also, number 2 in this collection is the broken frame. This is the alternate image. Brian and I like to call this the Daniel Miller's favorite image.
Yeah.
Because I think Daniel Miller liked this one. We've sold quite a few of these, Brian. These are very popular. It's hard for me to tell which are the most popular. They're all going pretty well so far. And then also in this collection, we have this alternative construction time again, which was the image for the Saarbrücken.
Yeah. Saarbrücken Pop Festival.
Pop Festival. You've
of photography.
Of photography, yes. Image number 4 in this collection is what we're calling Construction Time Again White, and this one is stunning. Obviously, a different feel to the other one. It's sort of got the white clouds in the background, and I just love the way he's lit. It's got this kind of like reddish, warm amber. I'm no photographer, guys. I just talk in the layman's way. And then the 5th image in this collection is the album we're talking about today, which is Some Great Reward, and it's nice to see it, without any sort of the writing. And what's interesting, guys, is these are the size of these posters are 31 by 31 centimeters, so they are the same size as a album cover.
And each one's individually
of
dedicated.
course, absolutely. And we've got the border around that. And the idea of these is, guys, is when you purchase them, and this is an offer which is exclusive to the Vaughan George channel, Brian actually will sign these personally. So you purchase it and you tell me what you want Brian to sign, and Brian will sign it. So you could make it to John, best regards, Brian Griffin. And what a lot of people have started doing now, Brian, is they've been buying it as gifts for,
Yeah, for husbands,
for
wives, boyfriends,
yeah.
partners.
Yeah, and it's quite funny, it's quite challenging because some people have got really long dedications and it's like... So anyway, guys, so these are available exclusively through the Vaughan George channel for the very reasonable price of only £65. And they'll deliver to you anywhere in the world. And as I say, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm going to leave all the information below, and you can contact me at info@vorti.com, and I will gladly walk you through the process. Mr. Griffin, I would like to
Yes.
I would like to thank you so much once again
It's my pleasure, Vaughan.
for coming on at such short notice. We are so hyped and stoked for the next one, which is Black Celebration, and I'm a little bit not sad, not the word, but we're going to sort of come to the end of this, and what I want to sort of emphasize, guys, is that Brian has never ever dedicated a series exclusively to this. So I'm very flattered to have that on this channel where we've actually focused on every single album cover in detail. Brian, I will see you on the next video.
Absolutely.
I'll get you in for the Black Celebration album review. And guys, the next video on my channel will be part 2 of the Some Great Reward album review series. Until then, guys, take care of yourselves. Lots of love from me. And from Brian.
Bye-bye.
See you again.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.